So in that regard, we'll discuss the viewpoint of McGregor and Abraham Maslow. So basically, the both of the scholars, they derived their philosophical insights from the discipline of psychology. Of course, while we are talking about the Herbert Simon, so he discussed about the concept of behavior, whereas Abraham Maslow and McGregor and um, Chris Igris, they talked about motivation of employees. So, keeping in view such direction, we would be able to understand how actually human motivation theory have influenced in shaping the theoretical insights of public administration as a discipline. Though there are other theories, but human motivation theory, where particularly the role of the organization or the responsibilities of the organization in motivating employees has been prioritized. So along with the role of the organization, so the scholars or the thinkers, they have pointed out how actually the need of individual, the need of the employee needs to be taken care of, and of course how the environment or the hygienic factor of the organization matters towards the productive capacity expansion of the individual. So all such things will be discussed today. So let just give me 1 second. Slide is not visible, no?
No, ma'am.
Hmm. Now it is visible.
Yes, ma'am, visible.
So, while taking into account Abraham Maslow's viewpoint, who made a breakthrough in human motivation with the appearance of his paper titled as A Theory of Human Motivation. So, in that paper, actually, Abraham Maslow pointed out or made the central argument that how actually that need of the human beings needs to be recognized by the organization. So if we are searching for that an employee need to be perform better, need to do well in the organization, and must have a wider contribution towards the development of the organization. In that context, it is necessary that his needs to be taken care of. Okay, so uh, by making this central argument, he developed the idea of hierarchy of human needs. So here he is basically uh, viewing human beings are pleasure seeking beings. Like you might have heard about the philosophy of utilitarianism. So in utilitarianism tradition, that individual always loves to pursue those things which gives him pleasure. So individual here always wanted to maximize and wanted to maximize his need, his want, through the things from which he is getting pleasure. So while taking into account that philosophy, so Abraham Maslow also believed in that direction, believes in that direction. So for him, human beings are pleasure seeking beings and are motivated towards satisfaction of their needs. So in that regard, of course, organization they need to actually learn, or be, you could say that, to be aware of, or must have the knowledge that what basically the needs of human beings are. So then only it will enable them to go for getting good human beings, and also that to satisfy their needs. So before Maslow, all administrative thinkers belonging to the human relations school routinely took the instrumental view of man, believing in manipulating him to be a more productive tool of the organization. But Maslow makes a departure from such thinking. He contends that the employee is not to be treated as an instrument. Okay, so here he needs to be viewed as an autonomous, with autonomous hierarchy of needs which motivates him to work. So, human relations theory, no doubt, talked about the social bonding, talked about the social environment, and also believes in that how psychological orientation matters in the organizational sphere. So, in that regard, the primary concern was preoccupied with the initial thinkers of human relations was that human being is basically an a source or an instrument through which organization would be able to expand. But Abraham Maslow's viewpoint is some relatively different from this viewpoint, though he also adhered to the psychological route. But he here prioritized the needs of the human being, and he is considering such needs as something very much autonomous, while to the working capacity of individual in an organization. So this hierarchy of needs actually motivates him to work in the organization, what he argues. Then man, in other words, is a self-actualizing being, and he holds the view that the best managers are ones who improves the health of the employees. Okay, so health means that here the surrounding, the conditions of the employees, the working conditions where they will not just physically but also mentally feel great to do the job. So, self actualizing being itself is a very contested term. So, who is self actualized person? So, it is also very much difficult to determine, no doubt. Abraham Maslow, being a management thinker, has provided an answer towards it, but still, for his critics, that Maslow had not been able to make it together all the ideas of self-actualizing being, and of course that it also subject to variations, that who is thinking that okay, I am self-actualizing being may not necessarily have all the qualities, may not necessarily have all the merits, positiveness, but still that person could be a self-actualizing person. So in that circumstances, who actually bears the capacity to be a self-actualizing being is basically a major critical insights come out of while studying Abraham Maslow. So Maslow directs his main efforts in the field of personality, that he studied human personality, and he argues that psychology had hitherto concentrated too much on human frailty and neglected human strength. Okay, so for him, that any kind of organization, or even also that the discipline of psychology actually had not really put enormous attention to understand the role of human strength in the organization. Rather, they have concentrated much on human frailty, and that how actually human being himself is not been able to sustain the organization, not coming out of the emotional biasness. So, in that circumstances, psychology continues to be the biggest supplier of expertise on the ground, that how actually human strength needs to be determined. And in that regard, Abraham Maslow is one of them, the scholars who advocated this viewpoint. He contends that the human nature is essentially good. Okay, so he assumed that the human nature is essentially good. As human personality develops through maturation, the creative capacity becomes more sharply defined. And if human beings are miserable, the fault lies with the environment which makes them so. So, human beings are not basically destructive or violent. They become so only when their inner nature is twisted. So Maslow was very much particular about the viewpoint of human being, and nature of human being, and he was very positive that all the human being they are good. So it is actually their surrounding, their conditions, which makes them different, which makes them something not being able to meet the standard pattern, but human nature is essentially good. And so long as this human nature is under the stage of improvement, so automatically maturity will come up, and finally it will lead towards the creative capacity of the human being. So if human beings are miserable, the fault lies with the environment which makes them so. So it is the actually environment which is responsible for making human being not good. Okay, so if the environment also enabling, then automatically human being will also exhibit its good potentialities before the others. So here, if we consider the argument of Chris Igris was also somehow in close proximate to to the argument provided by Abraham Maslow. So there, the concern is that human beings are essentially good. But the point is that here environment is the conditioned how actually human being will behave. So these are some of the major works of Abraham Maslow. It is about motivation and personality, then towards a psychology of being, then the psychology of science, a reconnaissance, the new knowledge in human values, the further riches of human nature, dominance, self-esteem, self-actualization, the germinal papers of A.H. Maslow. So all these works, they have pointed out that how actually human motivation, particularly employees' motivation, matters, and how it could be assessed through the needs. So every human being, they love to be recognized. They also think about the sustenance of their self-esteem, and also that here, if organization wanted somebody to be get motivated and to perform dedicatedly for the organization, then in that context automatically the concerned organization has to take care of the concerned staff. Okay. Hmm. So Abraham Maslow put forward three basic propositions based on the concept of need. So the first proposition is man is a wanting animal. He always has some need driving him action. Okay. So of course, if you observe this proposition, it is also shares similarity with utilitarian tradition, and also that where human being or the nature of human being have been viewed as utility maximizer. So in that regard, man is a wanting animal. He always needs more, and so here certain needs actually drives him towards the action. Okay, suppose somebody wanted to get recognized by other, then automatically, sorry, that person initiate his action, that how to actually get the how to get the things which he desires. So, as keeping in view the nature of the man, so he classifies that there is a hierarchy of needs, and they are arranged in an order of priority, with most basic needs to be satisfied first. Okay, so there is a hierarchy of needs, and they needs to be arranged in an order of priority. Okay, where the most basic needs to be satisfied first. Then the third proposition is a need satisfied is no longer a motivator. Okay, so when we are thinking about the question that what makes us motivated, what enable us to motivated for certain kinds of work, so in that regard, we need to reflect on ourselves, that which what are the needs actually which now become has become priority for me and acted as the motivator. So while the that need is being fulfilled, then automatically it won't be a motivator for me no longer. So automatically it will be replaced by the new form of need. Then here also, while explaining the nature of man, he is talking about that how man is driven by driven only by unsatisfied needs. So if the psychological and the safety needs are satisfied, there will emerge the love and affection and belongingness needs. Okay, so he has prioritized psychological and safety needs. Okay, so of course, being an individual, we want our safety first, and particularly the security who will protect us against any kind of hostile situation, who is there with us to provide us emotional security. So that actually matters. Similarly, the physiological need also necessary, or coming in an order, will come first in comparison to other needs. So these include desire for achievement, adequacy, reputation, recognition, importance, appreciation, and like. Okay, so here that of course, you are being a student, you need to achieve the highest mark in your class, and also you must have an achievement to do certain kinds of good job, so that their reputation and recognition will come to you, will flow to you. Then importance and appreciation. So everywhere human being want that he needs to be appreciated, he needs to be given due importance. So in that regard, I don't think that he there is any issue, or there is any not issue, there is anything wrong with the common sense of Abraham Maslow, that while taking his or exploring his thinking in the real world. So if we observe the real world, so presently we may come across such kind of case studies, that where actually individual or human being, they need more attention, importance, or appreciation, and it is actually the recognition for which human being always ready to work. So according to Abraham Maslow, self actualization refers to man's desire for self fulfillment, namely to the tendency for him to become actualized in what he is potentially. This tendency might be phrased as the desire to become, and desire to become more and more what one is, to become everything that one is capable of becoming. Okay, so self actualization as a concept essentially grounded on man's desire for self fulfillment. So whatever condition a person think that okay, by doing this thing it will lead me towards the self fulfillment of mine, then that tendency always pushed him to go for that. And in pursuing that goal, so he may actualize the thing which he desired for. But once again, it will also reproduce the idea that his potentiality also matters in making the process of self actualization. Okay, so his potentiality, so anything he is aspiring or he is wanting, so that will not come to him automatically. So he need to take initiatives. So in that initiative, how actually he would be able to get that, on that process itself uh, will indicate his potentiality to achieve something. So this is a process of self actualization. And so far as human behaviors behavior can be analyzed from their actions and the motives behind them. And these assumptions about human motivation have been familiar since the days of Sigmund Freud. So social psychology has brought a new path in analyzing human needs and motives through human behavior. So his theory provides the framework to study and analyze human motivation. As Maslow himself said, motivation theory is not synonymous with behavioral theory. Remember it. Here he is making a distinction that one way we are trying to read modern theories of public administration through behavioral theories. However, while we are reading Abraham Maslow and subsequent scholarship, we are getting the impression that behavior essentially may not be synonymous with the motivation. So, motivation here is something that which actually uh, motivate me to work, okay, or motivate me to do some action, okay. So suppose somebody is very much interested in writing, somebody is very much interested in making fashion designing. So in that regard, that if someone will encourage him, someone will actually support him, then automatically that person will be considered as motivated in order to conduct that work. But while coming to the behavior, behavior is something that there we are following certain observable, sorry, not observable, that we are conducting certain kinds of act by observing certain kinds of activities from our fellow human beings. Okay, so that's why he talked about that motivation theory is not synonymous with behavior theory. The motivations are only one class of determinants of behavior. Okay, so the motivations are only one class of determinants of behavior. So while behavior is almost always motivated, it is almost it is also almost always biological, cultural, and situationally determined as will. So, among the most widely referred motivation theories, Maslow's hierarchy of needs theory is quite prominent. Hmm. These are about the hierarchy of needs theory. So, Maslow sees human needs in the form of a hierarchy. Okay. So, we have read about hierarchy in the case of the structure of the organization. But while we'll read, you could say that uh, so far as the desire or psychological aspect is concerned, that how the um, concern of hierarchy reflect, that is actually been the crux idea of hierarchy of needs theory. Suppose you take an example like being a human being, while getting morning in the morning, what you immediately want. So tell me. So after getting up, waking up in the morning, so what you immediately want? We need to do our morning routine works, uh, and after finishing the routine works, we used to take tea or take some biscuit, or you could say that a little breakfast we can make. So here actually it comes out of the hierarchy of need. Okay, it is not about just merely waking up and going to the school or to the office. So before going towards that, we need to finish certain kind of work and um, um, do work accordingly. So similarly, so it indicates that there is hierarchy of needs. But Maslow put this concern in a very systematic and theoretical manner. Maslow sees human needs in the form of a hierarchy, starting in an ascending order from the lowest to the highest needs, and concludes that when one set of needs are satisfied, then the need for other set arises. Okay, so he is making the set of needs over here. So for him, human being is an organism which drives into action to satisfy its needs. The hunger drive or any other physiological drive cannot become this is the spelling is written wrongly. The centering point, it is the centering point in explaining the theory of motivation. So here he he has given priority to the basic needs, that being a human we definitely feel like to eat. Okay, so if you will not eat in time, then you will feel hungry. So it's a hunger drive, and also physiological drive, that any kind of physiological necessity, that as we are staying together in a family, so that drive also necessary. But both of these are essentially could not be taken as the centering point in explaining the theory of motivation. A sound theory of motivation centers upon the basic goals of human beings. Okay, so here it is saying that a sound theory of motivation centers upon the basic goals of human beings. Human behavior is a reflection of more than one need. Okay, so essentially that motivation and behavior, they found to be overlapped each other. But Maslow also made the clear point that motivation is not always about the behavior, but still that here behavior matters in the shape of that while we are going towards materializing any kinds of our need, suddenly our behavior changes, and also it changes and response come out of us in a very what you could say, um, response comes out of us, so that we would be able to understand the specific phenomenon. So here classification of needs into specific groups is a requisite in formulating a motivation theory. He says that classification of motivations must be based upon goals rather than upon instigating drives and motivated behavior. Okay, so here, that how do we need to classify motivation? So it needs to be done on the basis of goals rather than upon instigating drivers or motivated behavior. He further says that a situation in which a human organism reacts is a valid point in motivation theory, but the emphasis should always be on the behavior of the organism rather than on the situation. Okay, so he is considering human as organism. Organism means that something which is natural, something which is very much collected, connected to each of its part, and also something that where um, you could say um, that uh, it's a kind of a system where each part is connected with each other, and it is not essentially a mechanical thing like in the classical organizational theory. The mechanical aspect has given priority, the mechanical aspect of the organization has given priority and also discussed according to that line. But here the point is that the that as human being uh, is organism itself, so that's why it requires always its wishes always need somebody to share his grievances, and also to attract the opinion that how actually he will be motivated. So he further says that a situation in which a human organism reacts is a valid point in motivation theory, but the emphasis should always be on the behavior of the organism rather than on the situation. So here Maslow arranges the human needs in order of hierarchy of prepondency. At the lowest end are the psychological and security need. The self actualization need is at the highest end, and in between there are social and self esteem needs. Once the needs at the lower order are satisfied, then the need for needs at the highest order arises. The basic human needs identified by Maslow in an ascending order of importance are as follows. One is psychological need. So here actually, while you are reading Abraham Maslow, you will not feel any kind of complication while reading his ideas. But the point is that here we need to remember the context why actually he has come up in that thing, and we need to understand him in that direction. Okay, so psychological needs uh, are the basic needs for sustaining human life itself, like food, water, clothing, shelter, sleep, sexual satisfaction are the physiological needs without which the people cannot survive. And Maslow maintains that unless these needs are satisfied to the degree necessary to maintain life, other needs will not motivate people. So, of course, the safety needs, the physiological needs, which actually, while we are getting in the beginning of our birth, human being always try to stay in a secured place, try to be keep in touch with the bonding, and also that first point he needs to make out that actually how to get food, water, and the necessary basic things which enable him to sustain as human. Okay, so being human being, we are having the common sense understanding, okay, how a human being needs to stay like. So in that regard, it is his physiological needs which actually making him to ask for those things for which he would be able to survive on in the society. So in that regard, actually all these things, food, water, shelter, clothing, all these things will uh, come into picture. Okay. This is the security or safety needs. So this kind of need follow the physiological needs. These are the needs that enable people to live free from physical danger and fear of loss of a job, property, food, clothing, or shelter. Okay, and I think most of us are actually been running, running to get more uh, uh, not more to get adequate conditions or sufficient conditions to have space for physiological and security or safety needs, because none of us would think about to lose our day to day needs, the food, the job, or our house. So these things are very significant for us to sustain as a human being. So after having fulfillment of those needs, then only we can think of the other kinds of needs, what Maslow is arguing. Then he also talked about the acceptance needs, affiliation or acceptance needs. Since people are social beings, they need affiliation or to be accepted by others. They want to establish relationship with others, and at the same time also want them to establish reciprocal relationship. So here actually we are gradually moving towards the social relationship. So being a human being, definitely access to food, access to basic amenities, access to livelihood opportunity, all these things we do require. And at the same time, the physiological needs must be fulfilled. But so far as we being a social being, we can't stay aloof. Okay, so we also need somebody to who will recognize us, who will also get keep in touch with us, so that we could be able to exchange our opinion with each other, we could stay together. So such kind of things actually we require, because we think that I must be accepted by my family, I must be accepted by my community members. So in that regard, the acceptance needs matter, and such kind of needs is very much quite found to be valuable in case of who, particularly those who are having some kinds of marginality, or some kind both physical and social marginality. So they always are in need of that, how they would be accepted by their concerned locality, concerned society, even also in a particular relationship, how they will be get enough acceptance, so to be treated in a appropriate manner. Then this is the most important, you could say, this is the very significant need of a human being, which definitely, which we could say that it could be aspired by everyone. But whether it is really that, you could say that whether every human being really wanted to have the esteem or not, that is also a significant concern. So Maslow maintains that once people begin to satisfy their affiliation needs, they want to be held in esteem by others. So this kind of need generates satisfaction as power, self confidence, social position, and prestige. Okay, so every human being, they definitely love to be recognized. They definitely wanted that they need to be respected by the society. And here they are very much concerned about their esteem, so that it will be able to enhance their position as a powerful being, a self-confident and a prestigious person, and in that regard their social position will be enhanced. So here basically that esteem needs, actually you could say that it will something very much higher form of need, which is mm, um, mm, um, relatively more in um, ahead in comparison to the physiological and safety needs. Okay, and the need for self actualization. So Maslow regards the need for self actualization as the highest in the hierarchy of need. It is the desire to become what one is capable of becoming. It is the desire to maximize one's potential and to accomplish something. Okay, so self actualization process itself is very much, you could say, that. Mm, once again that he is ranking them as the highest, and here once again for self actualization, um, people, the person's capacity is here been coming into picture while he is trying to capable of fulfilling it. So it is the desire to maximize one's potential and to accomplish something. So as Maslow maintains that self-actualization is the highest need in his hierarchy, who then is a self-actualized person? That little just before we tried to discuss a little bit about it. So here the self-actualized persons have the following characteristics. They possess an unusual ability to detect the spurious, the fake, and the dishonest in the personality. That means they are very much honest, and they must be very much honest, and also that they must believe in a truthful life, and they possess creativeness and originality. They lack overriding guilt and crippling shame and anxiety. So here that of course that when somebody is very honest, so then in that case the possibility of guilt is very much less. So they are having the capacity to override any kind of guilt. Okay, and also they are also override shame and anxiety. So they are not really worried about anything. They are not really very much thinking about कि, okay, that if I am going this way, then my same my question on my same will occur. Okay, so they have a mission and purpose in life, and um, they like privacy, dignity, autonomy, and freedom to pursue their endeavors in life and work. They derive ecstasy, then inspiration and strength from the basic experience of life. They have a deep feeling of identification, sympathy, and affection for mankind. They maintain interpersonal relations with few people, and they are democratic, and they can differentiate between ends and means and right and wrong. Okay, so like somebody who have been come across, or who is in the above of all the angers, all the, you could say that all the inhibitions of life, then that person could be taken as a self actualized person. It is very difficult to in the empirical sphere to determine that who is self actualized person. Okay, so in that regard, I could just say that the prescription made by Abraham Maslow about human nature, and also about the self-actualized person, itself is appears to be very much simplistic than in comparison to the complex, because while we are expecting about the good life, or expecting about the thing that we need to be self actualized with us, so he there we need to try to uh, be distance from the concern that okay, whether there is failure, that it doesn't matter to me, that if there is anything not happening also not matter to me, uh, and but the point here is that no doubt Abraham Maslow talked about that the same and anxiety of persons must uh, uh, must not be there. But he also focused on the issue of the privacy, dignity, autonomy, and freedom to pursue their endeavors in life and work. So then they could derive equity, inspiration, and strength from the basic experience of life, and they have a deep feeling of identification, sympathy, and affection for mankind. They maintain interpersonal relations with few people, and they are democratic, and they can differentiate between ends and means and right and wrong. So they are something very much, what could you say? Angel. Okay. The angel who are essentially above all forms of ills or wishes prevailed among human being. So it appears to be very much simplistic. So, after identifying the basic human needs in an ascending order, Maslow discusses the characteristics of these basic needs. So, first, the hierarchy is neither rigid nor a watertight compartment. It means there is no fixity in the hierarchy of needs. Okay, no doubt, Maslow presented his analysis of need theory on the basis of hierarchy, that which need generally been prioritized by the people than the other needs. So in that regard, it also appears that this kind the construction of this hierarchy is something very much rigid, and we could not go for any kind of flexibility while applying that how the queries like how actually hierarchy of needs they do work in an organization. So here that it has been pointed out that though hierarchy of needs is being presented in an ascending form, but it is neither rigid nor a watertight compartment. So essentially it is there is no fixity, or you could say rigidities, in the hierarchy of needs. So for example, some people prefer physiological to esteem needs. Okay, that I just pointed out earlier also. Also, the emergence of a particular need after the fulfillment of a need at the lower end is not sudden. So like some people they prefer to just stay with their physiological and safety needs. So they are not very much, you could say, enthusiastic about getting their esteem needs. So esteem needs also been determined on the basis of that how the person concerned is working hard to establish himself or herself in the concerned locality or the society. So that once again that esteem is also comes out of the realization that what whether I am really been considered as a esteemed person in the society or not. Okay. So the basic human needs are the same and common irrespective of the societies and culture in which they live. And thirdly, human behavior is a reflection of diverse needs and cannot be influenced by a single variable or need. Okay. So diversified needs are there. So we cannot just say that finally take this understanding that human behavior essentially reflects the strict adherence to the hierarchy of needs. So there might be a diverse of needs and cannot be influenced by a single variable or need. Moreover, all behaviors cannot be determined by the basic needs. And a satisfactorily, suppose something is on the needs are being satisfied, so that also does not imply that that it is motivating to go for the essentially these are the motivator to go for the work. Okay. So, although hierarchical aspects of Maslow's theory are questionable and often not acceptable, his identification of basic human needs appears to be useful. In other words, it is necessary that perceptive managers must take a situational or contingency approach to the application of Maslow's theory. Okay, so it is the critical aspect of uh, hierarchy of needs theory that where no doubt on the one hand critics are curious whether this format is a rigid one or any kind of flexibility could be done to this hierarchy of needs. On the other hand, whether such hierarchy is really acceptable or not, that has become the main concern of critics towards the Maslow's theory. And but still, uh, his theory appears to be useful, while any initiative regarding the identification of basic human needs to be done. So in that regard, that if we take into account the role of the organization, the role of the agency, so whoever be the manager or those who are in the management, they must begin with a in assessing a situational or contingency approach to the application of Maslow's theory, that they need to identify that what kind of needs to be prioritized so that the concerned employees of the organization would feel better to work over there. Okay, so suppose you take into account like if we go by the daily routine of an organization, like there are lunch break, provision for the lunch break, provision for the tea, snacks. So these are essentially could be taken as the need aspect of the human being. And if any organization wanted his employees to work more even after the official routine hour, then in that regard it is the responsibility of the concerned office to take care of all the needs of the human being, particularly that relating to the physiological need, like providing food and also giving them working conditions in a comfortable way so that they could be feel comfortable to work. So and also the provision of leave. So these things are coming under that how actually organization needs to respond towards the need of the employees. Then, what needs they must approach will depend on the personality, wants, and needs of individual employees. In any case, perceptive manager must not forget that most people, especially in a developed society, have needs that spread over the whole spectrum of Maslow's hierarchy. Okay, so here that hierarchy of needs or its construction essentially been informed by the Western understanding of the human personality and the need of individual employees. So that's why that here um, um, it pointed towards the limitations. Okay, so no doubt that management being a discipline, or the application of management in public administration basically evolved in the American society and particularly in the Western society. However, while applying those logic, most of the traits of the non-Western society, it comes to uh, our own context and getting and creating a complicated situation that actually have the need to be identified. Like you take the case of leave, like government organization or also any organization, they are as they are giving holiday to for certain kinds of religious festival. Okay, so these are actually sociological needs of the individual. So here, that while declaring a religious occasion as a holiday, so automatically that here the government organization uh, is respecting the local culture, and in that regard the concerned girl or the concerned individual, he got the satisfaction that that m- our social practices got recognized in public institutional sphere. Okay, so these are the thing about most of the thing about the Maslow. Then the thrust of Maslow's hierarchy of needs is that one must satisfy one's basic needs before moving to the satisfaction of higher needs. Okay, so he hierarchized the needs and gives consider physiological and safety needs are the basic needs, and this needs to be fulfilled. And if you consider the need based theory through our sustainable development goals, of course you will get its reflection, because most of the basic needs or safety needs uh, found to be reflected in the sustainable development goals, like zero hunger, zero poverty. So here the access to food, shelter, they have given more priority. They have given a priority that such kind of needs must be available to every individual in our society. But here we are talking about the organization, so it is obvious that while we are imagining that in the society everywhere everyone could not be denied with access to house, access to food, access to any other basic civic amenities. So in that circumstances, how could an organization which is claiming to be an efficient one will not be able to ensure the necessity of the basic needs, so that the employee would be able to work comfortably. Okay, so these are the thing, and here Maslow draws attention to the larger range of needs needing satisfaction. A manager must note that basic needs of workers must be satisfied, but there are other needs as well. A satisfied need ceases to be a need, and another makes its appearance. Okay. Then Maslow's theory of need hierarchy was criticized mainly on ground of sophistication and validity of his research data, and the other hierarchy of needs. So research on realities of Maslow's theory does raise question about the accuracy of the hierarchical aspect of these needs, which we have already discussed. Okay, so how much accurate exactly the hierarchical aspect of those needs. So these things actually motivating us to question it, then how far actually mm, these needs sincerely been taken care of by the organization. And what about the case of uh, data, in order to validate, okay, these things are met, these needs are met by the organization, then subsequently the question of the esteem needs and self actualization is been taking place. So is there any kind of relations on it? So such kind of questions needs more robust empirical work. Okay. so however, his identification of basic needs has been quite useful. Now come to the Frederick Herzberg. Okay, so Frederick Herzberg is also a psychologist, and here he had also questioned the dogma relating to um, the conventional wisdom of managerial dogma and practices, and he had studied the problem of human motivation at workplace. So the central core of Hertzberg's work stems from his Second World War experiences, where he realizes that a society goes insane when the sane are driven insane. Okay, so this experience actually motivated him to work for that, under what condition actually human being feel motivated. So during Second World War, actually too much persons were being engaged in the warfare, that not just the military aspect of the war, but also that supplier of services to the war personnel. So in that regard, Hertzberg realized that how actually society is going towards. So the world war itself, the act of war itself, is an insane, and but still human being um, uh, motivated to go for the war. So in that condition actually, that motivate him to study human motivation at the workplace. So as a psychologist, he felt that sanity requires as much professional attention to nourishing the humanistic content of the character and ethics as to showing compassion for differences in personality. So, in this context, he made the point that the insane also require care, okay, compassion, but their insane actions should never be reinforced by ethical, neutral strategies. So, uh, here that he emphasized on the strategies in the workplace, that through which this hello, is anyone saying anything? Hmm? So these are his major works, that work and the nature of man, motivation to work, managerial choice. Then, in developing his motivation theory, Hertzberg was influenced by the writings of Abraham Maslow, Douglas McGregor, and Chris Idris, and he analyzed the relationship between meaningful experience at work and mental health. So that's why that he had propounded the two-factor theory, and also the hygiene, motivation hygiene theory. So these are the popular theories which were propounded by the Hertzberg in order to study a employee's motivation in workplace. Okay, so these are about that how actually his theory of motivation was studied and who are the people who have been involved in that study. So he developed two factor theory. um, so this two factor theory actually been conceptualized that which actually led towards job satisfaction and which factor led towards uh, job dissatisfaction. Okay, so in order to conduct this his experiment, that his 200 engineers and accountants from 9 companies were engaged, and these men were asked to think of times when they felt exceptionally good or exceptionally bad about their jobs. Okay, so their responses were then classified by topic in order to determine what type of events led to job satisfaction and job dissatisfaction. Okay, so that is called the two factor theory of motivation hygiene. So in that regard, mm, um, he talked about, he listed out actually that how which kinds of thing actually gives us job satisfaction and which kinds of thing actually not providing satisfaction. So but they still present in the organization. Then in that regard, um, he was able to identify that that how actually one could be able to improve the working conditions so that the employees would feel motivated to work um, in the concern organization. So the research employed a combination of the critical incident technique and respective pattern interview and content analysis. And the major objective of the research was to identify the factors that led to positive and negative attitude towards the job and to study the effects of this attitude on job performance. And their mental health. Okay, so um, so his focus of the study was whether different kinds of factors are responsible for bringing about job satisfaction. Okay, so here he analyzed them in terms of the determinants of uh, job satisfaction and the determinants of job dissatisfaction. So his theory identifies 5 strong determinants for both job satisfaction and job dissatisfaction. So here these are. So while coming to the determinants of job satisfaction, these factors are achievement, recognition, the attraction of the work itself, responsibility, and advancement. Okay, so this essentially motivate the employee concerned to work. So of course, being human being, while we are working in an organization, we definitely do need we need to achieve, and also we need to get the motivation for by if somebody will recognize our work, then mm, if there is responsibility has been given, then in that regard how far actually the advancement is being done. Whereas determinants of job dissatisfaction is coming, that these are relating to company policy and administration, supervision, salary, interpersonal relations, and working conditions. Okay, so all these 5 factors are essentially uh, affecting the job dissatisfaction in the organization. So here, if you try to analyze both of the determinants, both job satisfaction and job dissatisfaction, you will get that how um, so how actually that this um, so far as the first one is concerned, the determinants of job satisfaction, it is essentially grounded on the employee. Okay, whereas determinants of dissatisfaction is concerned, it is essentially grounded on the company or the organization and its environment. Okay, how actually the concerned employee or the organization, they are looking towards the employee and doing their work towards satisfying the needs of the employee, that is coming into picture. Okay. Mm. So this is about according to Herzberg, the first group of factors are motivators. um, so um, so they have the potential of welding a sense of dissatisfaction, sorry, satisfaction. And the second group of factors are maintenance or hygiene factors. Okay, like that the hygiene theory that talked about the environment and how actually the health of the concerned organization that uh, matters in bringing positive changes in the concerned organization. So their presence will not motivate people in an organization, yet they must be present, and otherwise dissatisfaction will arise. So thus there emerge two set of job attitudes and factors, intrinsic and extrinsic. Okay, so the latter set of actors contribute towards job satisfaction, but does not directly lead to motivation. So once again here, satisfaction and motivation, they are also not the same thing. Okay, so here we are getting the distinction that no doubt the all these factors may push towards job satisfaction or dissatisfaction, but whether they really motivated the employees concerned to get work or to feel good or to feel for the work, that actually been a severe concern. So the absence of these factors result in dissatisfaction. The intrinsic factors, on the other hand, do not cause dissatisfaction while uh, missing when missing, but lead to satisfaction when present. So here actually Horsbach's view are essentially need to be viewed in the context of hygiene factors, that they are we need to locate that how actually those who are being dissatisfied with their job, um, so whether their presence did not motivate or create satisfaction in the concerned organization. No doubt, without them, the growth motivators were adversely affected. They produced only short term changes in job attitude and performance, and these were the company policy, administration, wages, salaries, quality of supervision, quality of interpersonal relations, and working conditions, and feeling of job security. So motivation factors or satisfiers, or you could say that those factors who satisfies, were the ones that led to job satisfaction, job enrichment, achievement, recognition, and challenges. The presence of these factors motivated employees, but their absence did not lead to job dissatisfaction. So factors like opportunity for advancement, status, gaining recognition, challenging or stimulating work, uh, and sense of personal accomplishment were some of the motivators for the Herzberg. So he extensively talked about how actually the determinants or the intrinsic and extrinsic factors, and finally how the satisfaction does not directly lead towards motivation. So that been pointed by Hertzberg, and here that while taking into account the company policy, the supervision, and the other criterias of dissatisfaction factors. So he also very much um, think about the concern how it could also could be there is also the possibility for enhancement through which the condition of satisfaction could be created. So, in his view, satisfaction and dissatisfaction were not always on a continuum. Okay, it is always not in a continuum, and with one increasing, while one factor is increasing, the other one is decreasing. So in that regard, hygiene factor means that those factors which actually led towards the maintenance of the determinants of job satisfaction and dissatisfaction. So the hygiene factors are essentially need to take care of the dissatisfaction among employees in a workplace, and they had to be reduced or removed. And once this is done, motivation factors could be increased to increase the job satisfaction. So actually, that if you read Horsberg, that he presented such kind of the analysis on factors in a graphical form, which actually I have not added over here. So so it talked about, no doubt there is a, you could say that there is a fix, we may be able to categorize, okay, these factors are responsible for creating job satisfaction and these factors are responsible for creating job dissatisfaction. But at the same time, he is also not negating the aspect that the hygiene, if we take care of the hygiene factors, that means those factors which are essentially could be improved, those factors which are now being visible as the source of dissatisfaction, but they could be taken care of properly by bringing suitable modification. So if it is about the public, if it is about the company policy, so company policy could be revisited once in a while there would be some complaint against it, and while the board of directors of a company would be able to agree towards it. So in that regard, the communication from the employee side is also necessary. So they need to give regular feedback to the management that the policy of the company needs to be improved. And similarly, while going towards the salary component, so it is also that how actually company is going to handle or take up look after the material conditions of the employees. Okay, so so they here, they are always not in a continuum. Okay, they are not always in a binary condition, you could say that. Okay, so they always mm, they may complement each other, or they may you could say that the conditions of job dissatisfaction could also, if changes, then automatically it will also enhance the place or the scope of the job satisfaction. So it is basic to Herzberg's approach that job satisfaction and job dissatisfaction are not the opposite of one another. Okay, rather they are concerned with two different sets of man's needs. Okay, so here also we are getting the need, but need in the form of satisfaction. Okay, and therefore the opposite of job satisfaction is not essentially about job dissatisfaction, but simply no job satisfaction. So likewise the opposite of job dissatisfaction is lack of job dissatisfaction. Then second, the factors that led to job satisfaction are of a different kind from those that led to job dissatisfaction. Okay, so here also that the relating to the existence of factors, you could say that they are also always not in a fixed position to create the concern that there is job dissatisfaction. Then the motivators concerned with sustaining job satisfaction have a much long lasting effect than the hygiene factors concerned with removing dissatisfaction. So, while addressing the concern that no doubt while he located the conditions which led towards job satisfaction and dissatisfaction, but he is not arguing in that direction. It is a continuum process, or it is something in opposite to each other. Okay, so there may be an improvement if the modification or initiatives could be done. So, in that regard, he is introducing a concept that is job enrichment. Okay, so job enrichment is a management concept that involves redesigning jobs in order to make them more challenging and less repetitive. Though, so here that he emphasizes on that that how do you motivate your employees. It is also one of his great work. So to improve employees motivation and productivity, he suggested that jobs should be modified to uh, increase the motivators present for the employees. Okay, so here actually once again he is bringing back the role of the manager, and here the role of the manager or the management is to do continuous motivation, to infuse the elements of motivation for in the among the employees, so that they could be able to do well. So in that regard, job enrichment is one of the direction where actually the management needs to show that this job is very dynamic one. And of course here, if somebody who is very hardworking and sincere dynamic employee, then definitely his ability would be get expanded, and will go get opportunity to deal with more challenges. And also of course it is not less, it is not very much repetitive in nature. So overall goals for the company often include increasing employees job satisfaction, reducing turnover, and improving productivity of employees. So he argued that job enrichment through motivators should be a central element in any policy of motivation. So while I hope you might be heard about the thing that many of the organizations, they are always undertaking many kinds of training workshop to for conducting motivation workshop in order to boost the motivation of their employees. Okay, so in that regard, Herzberg also looking forward towards the great role on the part of the management or the manager, so that they could be always stand by there in order to motivate their employees and which definitely would be leading towards the productivity of the concerned organization. So so their job is to motivate employees, and enable them to realize their opportunity to use their abilities to the fullest. Okay. And by enriched job this enriched job should contain a range of tasks and challenges at different ability levels, and clear opportunities for achievement and feedback on performance. So job enrichment would involve systematic training. Okay. So here he also talked about the role of the training, and job enrichment is possible through reduction of repetitive work, enhancement of employees' feelings of achievement and recognition, then provision of employees career enhancement, then focus on employees non promotion growth, and that is personal growth in terms of skill and techniques know how. Okay. So the work must not to be essentially a repetitive one. Then there must be feeling for scope for enhancing the feeling for achievement and recognition, and there must be scope for career enhancement, and also that employ the focus on employ that if there is a growth, so it is not merely about the promotion centered growth, that it will also lead towards the skill enhancement. Okay. And technical know-how. So in that regard, so what would be the principle of job enrichment? So he pointed out the seven principles of job enrichment. The first one is to remove controls, particularly while retaining accountability. To remove some controls while retaining accountability, then increasing the accountability of individual for their own work, then giving a person a complete and natural unit of work, then granting additional authority to employees in their activity, then making periodic reports directly available to the workers themselves rather than to the supervisor, then introducing new and more difficult tasks not previously handled, then assigning individuals specific or specialized tasks, enabling them to become their um, uh, to make their decision own. So here these seven principles are essentially talked about, that the control aspect in regulating their work needs to be removed without the accountability dimension. So they definitely, the employees who are being engaged in the job, so they definitely they need to be accountable to the management or the company, but at the same time the working conditions or the way they need to conduct their work, that must need to be out removed with the control. That means that more autonomy needs to be given to the employees in order to perform their work, so that they will feel that their best has been performed in the organization, and in that context they will be able to provide their best to the concerned organization. But the point is that here so far as providing these job enrichment factors is concerned, that here he totally ignored that the concern that whether the emphasis on job enrichment, and totally ignored job satisfaction of workers. So he essentially did not attach much importance to pay and interpersonal relationship. So once again, that if we go by the human relations theory, that no doubt, while some scholar like Elton Mao talked about that how actually the social relations among individuals working in an environment could be able to enrich the productivity of the organization, whereas psychological, socio-psychological analysis, they are talking about the needs, they are talking about the employees conditions, and also they are talking about that how the job enrichment could be done. So in that regard, Hertzberg's theory definitely could be taken as one of the way to implement the idea of job enrichment, and also to locate that the determinants of job satisfaction and dissatisfaction, but at the same time that so far as empirical validity of the job enrichment concept is concerned, it is still to be explored. Okay, so far as like he talked about that job enrichment could be effective when there would be less repetitive work, but so far as these kinds of works are concerned, that it can be only available for a minor portion of the employees of the organization, but majority portion of the employees of the organization, definitely their job would be repetitive. They need to do, they are required to do the same job for a continuous period of time. So in that circumstances, that to provide non-repetitive work and more dynamic work itself becomes a concern for the organization, not a very much practical solution for the organization to go for the productivity. So here actually, that no doubt the hygiene theory, which talked about the environment, the health conditions of the employees, how actually it has been influenced by the company's policies, the circumstances, salaries, all these things. But how far actually it will lead towards answering the positive relationship between job satisfaction and productivity in the concerned organization, that also becomes a main concern, critical concern for the Hertzberg's theory. And here we talked about that satisfied workers produced more could also not be generalized on the basis of a small sample of 9 companies that he worked with. So, despite all these criticisms, we can conclude that Hertzberg's theory has been widely used in the both in management and also in organizational research. And of course, being a theory of public administration, this enrichment principles, while we are taking into account that there is a very limited focus, while we are taking into account the government organization, because these people, they need to do the same work in a repetitive manner. And here essentially that it is not about, always not about the salary. So far as the challenges are concerned, no doubt in administrative job the challenges remains to be there, but how far actually it really supported with the the job satisfaction, that is also a crucial question to investigate. So his research has broadened the understanding of motivating factors and job enrichment, which would be able to which has been analyzed to produce satisfaction at the workplace. So there would be very few managers who are not familiar with all these recommendations. So Herzberg's theory provides valuable guidelines to the companies and also for the manager for restructuring their job in order to include such factor which have the ability to bring in the satisfaction component in the concerned organization. Then he also recognized that true motivation comes from within a person and not essentially from the environment or external factors. So, in that regard, it has the potentiality, it has the potential of solving managerial problem to a large extent, and it is easier to actually apply Hertzberg's theory coupled with Maslow's hierarchy of need, and this goes in favor of Hertzberg's theory as it simplifies its application as a strategy to motivate. So here the need based theory and the two factor theory. Okay, so both of them are actually have contributed towards how the principle of motivation needs to be applied in the context of a public organization and a private organization. So in that regard, how actually the companies could scale up a criteria to assess that how far actually they are employees are being satisfied with their job in the concerned organization. So this could be a possibility for improving or injecting the employees perspective in the organization. But both of the theories are essentially not compromised the aspect of the accountability. No doubt they talked about the needs, they talked about that how actually employee satisfaction needs to be enhanced, but at the same time they advocated about that autonomy must be given to the individual. But so far as their actions are concerned, the concerned employee will be accountable for his action in the organization. And uh, and another critical thing also needs to be mentioned, that with regard to that, as presently most of the organizations they are being governed by the inclusive criteria, so they have not been actually, those theories are not really been informed with social categories like the gender and also um, the social profile of the employee. So they just treated employees as a secularized category while discussing the job satisfaction and um, and of course the job enrichment. So, like some employee must be there that who may not essentially be likely to towards the way job enrichment been prescribed by Hertzberg will go for it. So in that regard, um, these theories they do really need to be improved by it. Okay, so with this actually I'm ending, and so far as the other theories are concerned, like Victor Groom's perspective and McGregor's perspective is concerned, we'll discuss it later. Okay, so if there is any question, uh, you may ask.
मैम आपका म्यूट हो गया है।
Okay, Rajakishore, you want to ask something? You raised your hand.
Ma'am, no question. You can continue in next class.
Okay, okay, then bye. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
ଜଣ 4 ଜଣ ପଢୁଛନ୍ତି। ଆଗ ତ କେତେ କେତେ ପିଲା ପଢୁଥିଲେ ନା, ଏବେ ଆଜି 7 ଜଣ ଥିଲେ, ଏବେ ଲାଷ୍ଟ ବେଳକୁ ଦେଖିଲା 6 ଅଦର୍ସ। କ'ଣ ସରିଗଲାଣି ନା କହିଲା ପରେ ଛାଡ଼ିକି ଖାଲି ଦେଖୁଛି ନାହାନ୍ତି ପଳେଇଲା, କହିଲା ପାଇଁ ଆଉ କିଛି ପଢେଇବାନି, କେହି ଡାଉଟ୍ ନାହିଁ ତ ଥାଉ ବୋଲି କହିଲା। କ'ଣ କହିବ କହୁନ, 17 ମିନିଟ୍ରୁ କାହିଁ ଛାଡ଼ିଲି, ଆଉ 13 ମିନିଟ୍ ଥିଲା, ପଇସା ନେଉଥିବ ନା ମାଗଣା।